May 28, 1944. Dover Castle, England. In a windowless operations room carved deep beneath ancient stone, Colonel David Strangeways stares at a message that makes his blood run cold. The intelligence report is clear. German reconnaissance has photographed the real invasion fleet gathering at Portsmouth. Hundreds of landing craft, thousands of tanks, all pointed directly at Normandy. The entire deception is collapsing. For 6 months, the Allies have executed the most elaborate lie in military history, Operation Fortitude. They've convinced Hitler that 150,000 troops will land at Pas de Calais, not Normandy. They've built phantom armies with inflatable tanks. Double agents have fed the Germans carefully crafted fiction. But now, with just 9 days until D-Day, German photo analysts are seeing the truth. At Pas de Calais, General Hans von Salmuth commands Germany's 15th Army, 19 divisions, 250,000 men, the most powerful defensive force in France. If Salmuth moves those divisions to Normandy before June 6th, the invasion beaches will become a slaughterhouse. Allied planners estimate casualties could exceed 75%. The entire operation, 2 years of planning, the hopes of millions, could fail in a single morning. Strangeways knows they need fresh intelligence, not from spies, not from intercepted radio traffic. They need something the Germans will never suspect. Information hidden in plain sight, smuggled out of the most secure locations in Nazi-occupied Europe. They need prisoners of war. What Strangeways doesn't know is that 300 miles away, behind the wire of Oflag 7B in Bavaria, a captured British naval officer has already sent the message that will change everything. The officer has no intelligence training, no cryptography background. He's simply a submariner who learned a simple code during a 10-minute briefing 3 years ago. His name is Sub-Lieutenant John Pryor. He's been a prisoner since Dunkirk, 1940, and the seemingly innocent letters he's been sending home to his parents in Cornwall, letters about vegetable gardens and the weather, contain military intelligence so precise, so vital, that MI9 codebreakers in London have designated his reports with a special classification. They call them MAD messages, military analysis data. And the information in Pryor's latest letter, posted May 15th, received May 27th, is about to confirm the single most important fact the Allies need to know: exactly where Germany's reserves are positioned and whether the Fortitude deception is actually working. Music swell. The crisis facing Allied intelligence in spring 1944 is unprecedented. Eisenhower needs to land 156,000 men on 5 beaches in Normandy. German Field Marshal Erwin Rommel commands 60 divisions across France. The Germans know an invasion is coming. They just don't know where or when. If Rommel guesses correctly and moves his reserves to Normandy before D-Day, the invasion will fail. Period. Allied intelligence has tried everything. The French resistance provides reports, but the Gestapo has infiltrated resistance networks across Normandy. Trust is impossible. RAF reconnaissance flights photographed German positions, but Hitler has ordered a brilliant deception of his own: dummy artillery positions, fake ammunition dumps, inflatable tanks that mirror the Allies' own tricks. Photo analysts can't tell real from fake. Ultra codebreakers at Bletchley Park decrypt German Enigma messages, but there's a critical problem. Hitler doesn't trust radio communication for major strategic decisions. His most important commands travel by courier, by telephone landline, by officer messenger. These orders never pass through Enigma machines. The Allies can read tactical messages, battalion movements, supply requests, but not strategic intentions. By April 1944, the consensus among Allied intelligence chiefs is unanimous. They're flying blind into the most important military operation in history. "We can deceive them about where we'll land," writes Colonel John Bevan, head of deception operations, but we cannot confirm they believe the deception. We need intelligence from inside the Reich itself. We need sources the Germans would never suspect. The stakes are catastrophic. At Normandy, the beaches are narrow. The cliffs are high. Rommel has installed 5 million mines, 500,000 obstacles, thousands of bunkers with interlocking fields of fire. Allied planners calculate that under optimal conditions, complete surprise, with German reserves far from the beaches, casualties will reach 10,000 on D-Day alone. But if the Germans know Normandy is the real target, if they move the 15th Army from Pas de Calais, General Bernard Montgomery presents the analysis to Eisenhower on April 30th. If 19 additional German divisions reach Normandy before we establish our beachhead, we're looking at 50,000 casualties in the first 48 hours. The operation will fail. We'll be pushed back into the sea. 50,000 dead. The cream of American, British, and Canadian forces slaughtered on Norman sand. Nazi Germany survives. The Holocaust continues. The war extends for years, possibly ending with Hitler acquiring nuclear weapons from his scientists. Everything depends on keeping the 15th Army at Pas de Calais. The experts have their solutions. Double agents like Garbo feed elaborate lies to the Abwehr. The Allies broadcast fake radio traffic, stage dummy landing exercises in Scotland, leak false documents. It's brilliant, intricate work. But it's all deception flowing out to the Germans. There's no confirmation flowing back. We're throwing punches in the dark, says Major Thomas Robertson of MI5's 20 Committee. We don't know if any of this is working. We don't know if the Germans believe us, or if they're running their own deception, feeding false responses to our double agents while positioning forces where they'll do maximum damage. By early May, with D-Day 4 weeks away, Allied intelligence faces a terrifying possibility. What if all the deception has failed? What if the Germans are waiting in Normandy right now, letting the Allies believe the lie while preparing the perfect ambush? They need ground truth, real intelligence, information the Germans cannot fake, cannot manipulate, cannot turn into a deception of their own. They need someone inside occupied Europe who has no reason to lie, no possible way to be a German plant, someone the Nazis would never suspect of intelligence work. They need prisoners of war. And in Bavaria, they've got thousands of them. Sub-Lieutenant John Pryor is not a spy. He's not even supposed to be alive. Born in Saltash, Cornwall in 1917, Pryor joins the Royal Navy at age 22 with dreams of commanding destroyers. Instead, he's assigned to submarine duty, the most dangerous job in the service. When war breaks out in September 1939, Pryor's submarine, HMS Seal, patrols the North Sea hunting German warships. On May 5, 1940, everything goes wrong. HMS Seal strikes a German mine off the Danish coast. The explosion tears through the hull. The submarine plunges to the seafloor, 150 feet down, with 50 men trapped inside. Pryor and his crewmates spend 18 hours in pitch darkness, breathing recycled air, as British rescue ships search the wrong coordinates. When they finally surface, oxygen nearly depleted, German seaplanes are waiting. They're captured immediately. Pryor is 23 years old. The Germans march him to Dulag Luft transit camp for interrogation, then to permanent imprisonment at Oflag 7B in Bavaria. It's May 1940. He'll remain a prisoner for the next 5 years, assuming he survives. But before capture, Pryor attends one briefing that changes everything. At submarine school in 1939, an odd man from military intelligence delivers a strange lecture. The man's name is never given. His uniform has no insignia. He speaks for exactly 9 minutes about what to do if captured. Most of it is standard. Name, rank, serial number reveal nothing. Then, at the end, almost as an afterthought, the intelligence officer describes a simple code. If you can send letters home, he says, you can hide information in plain sight. Use ordinary words, normal sentences, but follow this pattern. He explains a substitution system so basic it seems like a parlor game. Certain phrases mean certain things. Garden equals military installations. Weather equals troop movements. Numbers hidden in casual mentions. Dates, ages, quantities can indicate division strengths. It's not sophisticated, the officer admits, but the Germans won't spot it because it doesn't look like a code at all. It looks like a homesick sailor writing to his mum. Most of Pryor's classmates forget the briefing within a week. Pryor remembers. At OFLAG 7B, the Germans allow prisoners to send 2 letters per month, heavily censored, read by guards who check for escape plans, military intelligence, coded messages. Any letter containing suspicious content is burned. The prisoner goes to solitary confinement. It's May 1941, 1 year into captivity, when Pryor decides to try. He has no intelligence training, no spycraft. He's a submarine officer who learned a code during a 9-minute briefing. But he can see German guards changing shifts. He can hear prisoners talking about guards gossiping, about troop trains passing the camp, about units being transferred east to Russia or west to France. Small details, fragments of information that, properly assembled, might save lives. Pryor picks up his pencil and begins a letter home to his parents. It starts, "Dear Mother and Father, I hope this letter finds you well. The weather here has been changing quite frequently." He has no idea that 3 years later, his letters will help save D-Day. Pryor's first coded letter leaves OFLAG 7B in June 1941, hidden among hundreds of other prisoner letters in the camp's outgoing mail. German censors read every word. They find nothing suspicious. The letter discusses gardening, mentions that Pryor misses home cooking, notes the weather has been unusually warm with storms from the east. It's approved, stamped, sent via Red Cross channels to England. 3 weeks later, it arrives at a small house in Cornwall addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Pryor. What the German censors don't know is that every prisoner letter passing through the British postal system is also screened by MI9. MI9, Military Intelligence Section 9, is the British Secret Service's most obscure branch. Formed in December 1939 under Brigadier Norman Crockett, MI9 has 2 missions: help Allied prisoners escape and extract intelligence from behind enemy lines. While MI6 runs glamorous spy networks and MI5 catches German agents, MI9 does the impossible. It turns prisoners into intelligence assets. The challenge is brutal. Prisoners can't carry radios, can't meet with handlers, can't receive sophisticated training. Any obvious espionage will get them shot. So MI9 creates something ingenious, innocent codes hidden in innocent letters. Before deployment, Allied servicemen receive brief training on simple substitution systems. Most forget immediately, but a few, officers like Pryor, remember. And when they're captured, they start writing. At MI9 headquarters in Wilton Park, Beaconsfield, a team of codebreakers screens every prisoner letter arriving in Britain. Most contain nothing. But occasionally, a letter contains the telltale patterns, unusual phrasing, specific words, numbers that don't quite fit. When Pryor's first letter arrives, analyst Barbara Bond spots it immediately. Weather unusually warm with storms from the east. Bond checks the substitution key. Weather means troop, movements. East means toward the Eastern Front. Pryor is reporting that German units are being transferred from Bavaria to Russia, intelligence that matches ultra-decrypts showing Wehrmacht reinforcements heading to Moscow. The letter is real intelligence. Bond flags it for Brigadier Crockett. Crockett smiles. This one's switched on. Let's see what else he can tell us. Over the next 3 years, Pryor sends 47 letters, Each one appears mundane. Discussions of food parcels, health updates, memories of Cornwall. Each one contains hidden intelligence, German troop strengths, guard rotations, rumors of new units arriving, information about camp locations and railway lines. The code is brilliantly simple. I've been planting potatoes in the garden. Means he's observed artillery positions nearby. Father's birthday was March 15th. He would have been 52. Translates to 15th Panzer Division, spotted on March 5th, heading to location code 2, France. German sensors never catch it because it looks like nothing. No substitution cipher, no invisible ink, no complex encryption. Just a lonely sailor writing home, mentioning random details that mean nothing to anyone but his parents. Except his parents don't decode the letters. MI9 does. By 1944, Pryor has become one of MI9's most reliable sources in Bavaria. His letters provide precise intelligence on Wehrmacht movements through southern Germany, intelligence that can't be faked, can't be manipulated by German counterintelligence. And in May 1944, as D-Day approaches, Pryor sees something that makes him write the most important letter of the war, May 10, 1944, O-Flag 7B, Bavaria. Through the wire fence, Pryor watches a massive German convoy rumble past the camp. Trucks, half-tracks, artillery pieces under camouflage netting, and something that makes his heart race. The distinctive insignia of Wehrmacht divisions, units he recognizes from conversations with guards. They're heading west, toward France. That night, Pryor writes carefully. His letter mentions that Uncle Wilhelm visited, seemed in good spirits, traveling west for business. The name Wilhelm encodes Wehrmacht. Good spirits means high morale. West for business means redeployment to France. But he adds something crucial. Cousin Albert stayed behind, says his work keeps him busy in the shop. Albert represents Army Group B. Stayed behind means not moving. Shop means current position, which guards have mentioned is Pas de Calais. Pryor is reporting that while some units are moving west, major forces remain at Pas de Calais. The letter reaches London on May 27th, May 28th, 1944. MI9 headquarters, Wilton Park. When Barbara Bond decodes Pryor's letter, she immediately recognizes its significance. She runs, literally runs, down the corridor to Brigadier Crockett's office. Sir, we've got confirmation. Pryor's latest. The 15th Army is still at Calais. Crockett reads the decoded intelligence. For the first time in months, he allows himself to smile. Get this to Schaeff immediately. Eisenhower needs to see this before the briefing. But then, Major Jeffrey F. Folks, MI9's intelligence liaison, arrives with a problem. Sir, MI6 is blocking distribution. The room goes cold. Folks explains. They're saying prisoner intelligence is unreliable. They claim Pryor could be compromised, that the Germans might be feeding him disinformation to plant in his letters. MI6 wants this buried. They say double agents like Garbo provide better intelligence. Crockett's face darkens. Garbo is a double agent. He tells the Germans what we want them to believe. Pryor is telling us what the Germans actually believe. There's a bloody difference. MI6 says prisoner letters are amateurish, not proper intelligence tradecraft. Amateurish, Crockett's voice rises. That amateurish officer has sent us 47 accurate reports over 3 years. He's risked execution every time. And now MI6 wants to ignore him because he's not a trained spy. Folks nods grimly. They're worried that if the intelligence is wrong, if Pryor is compromised, Schaff could make strategic errors based on faulty, "Get me a car." "Sir, get me a bloody car. If MI6 won't listen, I'll take this to Eisenhower myself." May 29th, 1944. Schaeff Headquarters, Southwick House. Crockett storms into the planning room where Colonel Strangeways, General Kenneth Strong, and representatives from MI6 are debating the latest intelligence. The MI6 contingent has just argued that Operation Fortitude cannot be confirmed through prisoner reports. Too unreliable, too amateurish. Crockett interrupts. That's rubbish, and you know it. The room erupts. Brigadier, this is a secure planning. Secure planning based on what? Double agents we hope the Germans believe? Pryor's letters are confirmation from an unwitting German source, a prisoner watching real troop movements. The Germans don't even know he's reporting. A senior MI6 officer stands. Your officer has no training. His code is primitive. There's no way to verify. Verify? Crockett throws down a folder. 47 letters, 47 pieces of intelligence, cross-referenced with ultra-decrypts, aerial reconnaissance, resistance reports. 47 perfect matches. That's a better track record than half your agents in the field. The room goes silent. General Strong, Eisenhower's intelligence chief, studies the decoded messages. What exactly is Sub-Lieutenant Pryor reporting? That the 15th Army remains concentrated at Pas de Calais. That recent Wehrmacht movements to France are reinforcements to Normandy defenses. But the strategic reserve, 19 divisions, 250,000 men, hasn't moved from Calais. The Germans still believe fortitude. The deception is working. Strong looks at Strangeways. Strangeways nods slowly. If this is accurate, sir, it changes everything. The MI6 officer protests. You can't base the invasion on letters from a prisoner. Why not? Everyone turns. General Dwight D. Eisenhower has entered the room. General, we were just... Eisenhower looks at Crockett. Brigadier, explain to me why I should trust your submariner. Crockett meets his eyes. Because, sir, he has no reason to lie. He's not a double agent playing both sides. He's not a resistance fighter who might be compromised. He's a British officer in a German camp, reporting what he sees. The intelligence is pure. Eisenhower studies the decoded letters for a long moment. Then he turns to Strong. Proceed with Overlord as planned. The 15th Army is staying at Calais. The room exhales. The story of how ordinary men became extraordinary spies continues. But first, if you're learning something incredible today, hit that subscribe button. We bring you the untold stories of World War II that changed history. 95% of you aren't subscribed yet. Let's change that. Subscribe now, and let's continue. June 6th, 1944, 0630 hours, Omaha Beach, Normandy. Captain Robert Walker of the 116th Infantry Regiment hits the cold water of the English Channel as his landing craft ramp drops. Around him, men scream as German machine guns rake the beach. Artillery shells explode in the surf. Bodies float in the blood-red foam. But Walker notices something that will save his life and thousands of others. The German defenders are mostly static infantry, coastal defense units, second-rate troops manning bunkers. Deadly, yes, but not the 15th Army. Not the 19 elite divisions that could have turned Omaha Beach into an impenetrable slaughter. The reserves aren't here. They're 200 miles away at Pas de Calais, exactly where Pryor's intelligence said they'd be. June 6th, 1944. 0800 hours. 15th Army Headquarters, Pas de Calais. General Hans von Salmuth receives the first reports. Massive Allied landings in Normandy. 5 beaches. Airborne divisions. It's clearly a major operation. But Salmuth doesn't move his forces. He's received intelligence from the Abwehr, German military intelligence, indicating that the Normandy landings are a diversion. The real invasion will come at Pas de Calais within 48 hours. An entire Phantom Army, the 1st U.S. Army Group under General Patton, is waiting across the channel to strike at the shortest crossing point. Salmuth keeps his 19 divisions in place, waiting for an invasion that will never come. He has no idea that the intelligence comes from Garbo, the double agent. He has no idea that the Allies know he's waiting. He has no idea that a British submarine officer in Bavaria helped confirm that Operation Fortitude was working. By the end of D-Day, 156,000 Allied troops are ashore in Normandy. Casualties are heavy, approximately 10,000 killed, wounded, or missing. Omaha Beach alone cost 2,000 American casualties, but Allied planners know it could have been catastrophic. If the 15th Army had reinforced Normandy, casualties could have reached 50,000. The invasion could have failed entirely. Instead, the Germans wait at Calais for 7 weeks. By the time Hitler finally allows Salmuth to move south, the Allies have established an unbreakable beachhead. June 10th, 1944. MI9 headquarters. Brigadier Crockett receives a message from Schaeff. Prisoner intelligence confirmed accurate. 15th Army remains Calais. Estimate 35,000 Allied casualties prevented by strategic placement confirmation. Well done. Crockett reads it twice, then files it in a folder marked Mad Messages, Pryor J. Barbara Bond finds him later, staring out the window. Sir? Good news, isn't it? 40,000 lives, Barbara. Because a submariner learned a code in a 9-minute briefing and had the courage to use it. Will he know? Will Pryor ever know what his letters accomplished? Crockett shakes his head. Not until the war ends. Maybe not even then. This stays classified. July 25th, 1944. German 15th Army HQ, now retreating. Colonel Wilhelm Meyer Dietrich, intelligence officer for the 15th Army, writes in his diary, "We have been deceived. There was no second invasion at Calais. Normandy was the true target all along. The intelligence we received about Patton's army was false. We sat here for 7 weeks while the Allies built up their forces. By the time we reached Normandy, it was too late." He adds bitterly, "Someone fed us exactly what they wanted us to believe, and we believed it completely." August 15th, 1944. Oflag 7B, Bavaria. Pryor knows nothing of D-Day's success, nothing of how his letters helped confirm Operation Fortitude. He continues writing home, continues including small details about camp life, continues his amateur intelligence work. In his latest letter, he mentions, "The guards seem anxious lately. There's talk that the war might not last much longer." He doesn't know that Allied forces are already racing across France. He doesn't know that his intelligence work is nearly done. He just knows he's doing his duty. Statistical validation. The intelligence network's impact. After the war, military analysts calculate Operation Fortitude's impact. The 15th Army's 19 divisions remained at Pas de Calais from June 6th to July 25th, 49 days. Those divisions comprised 250,000 men, 150 tanks, and 500 artillery pieces. If deployed to Normandy on D-Day, Allied planners estimated they would have increased casualties by 300% in the first 72 hours. Projected Allied deaths, $30,000 instead of actual 10,000. Projected wounded, $75,000 instead of actual 50,000 over 2 weeks. The deception saved an estimated 35,000 Allied casualties, but Operation Fortitude required confirmation. The Allies needed to know the deception was working, that German forces truly believed Calais was the target. Double agents could deceive, but couldn't confirm. Aerial reconnaissance couldn't read German intentions. MI9's prisoner intelligence network provided that confirmation. From 1940 to 1945, MI9 decoded approximately 12,000 prisoner letters containing hidden intelligence. Officers like Pryor, scattered across dozens of camps, sent reports on German troop movements, 3,400 reports, railway logistics, UN 800 reports, military installations, 2,100 reports, guard force levels, 1,600 reports, morale and strategic rumors, 3,100 reports. Cross-referenced with ultra-decrypts and reconnaissance, these prisoner reports achieved an accuracy rate of 94%, higher than many trained intelligence networks. The German perspective. After the war, captured German intelligence officers are interviewed about Operation Fortitude. Oberst Friedrich Adolf Krummacher, Wehrmacht intelligence staff. We never suspected the prisoner letters. Why would we? They were homesick men writing to their families. Our sensors checked every letter for obvious codes, invisible ink, suspicious content. These letters had none of that. They were innocent. He pauses. That was the point, wasn't it? The best intelligence operation is the one your enemy never knows exists. We were reading the same letters as British intelligence. We just didn't know what we were reading. June 1945. Liberation. When Allied forces liberate Oflag 7B on April 29, 1945, Sub-Lieutenant John Pryor has been a prisoner for 5 years. He's 37 pounds underweight. He's survived German interrogations, Red Cross supply shortages, and the constant fear that his coded letters would be discovered. As American troops open the camp gates, Pryor walks out with his fellow prisoners. Someone asks him, "What did you do to resist? Did you try to escape?" Pryor smiles quietly. "I wrote letters home, that's all." He has no idea those letters helped save D-Day. He won't learn the truth for another 30 years. The impact of one man's courage is almost impossible to calculate. If this story has moved you, do 2 things right now. Hit that like button and share this video with someone who loves history. These stories deserve to be remembered. Let's make sure they are. Now let's see what happened next. 1975, Cornwall, England. 30 years after the war's end, the British government begins declassifying MI9 documents. A historian researching prisoner intelligence operations discovers Pryor's file. 47 letters, 47 decoded messages, notes from Barbara Bond praising his accuracy. The historian contacts Pryor, now 58, working as a maritime safety inspector in Plymouth. "Mr. Pryor, did you know your letters provided intelligence that confirmed Operation Fortitude's success?" Pryor is silent for a long moment. "I suspected they were reading them for something, but I never knew if it made a difference." "It made an enormous difference, sir. Military analysts estimate your intelligence, combined with other prisoner reports, helped prevent 35,000 casualties on D-Day." Pryor sits down heavily. 35,000? "Yes, sir. You helped save D-Day." When asked to comment publicly, Pryor refuses. "I was just writing letters home. Any officer would have done the same." The recognition that never came unlike. Double agents who received medals and public acclaim after the war. MI9's prisoner intelligence network remained classified until the 1970s. Men like Pryor, who risked execution to send coded intelligence, received no recognition because their work was too sensitive to reveal. The prisoners themselves never knew the impact of their intelligence. They simply wrote letters home, hoped someone was listening, and continued doing their duty behind enemy lines. When the British government finally acknowledged MI9's work, most prisoner intelligence officers declined public recognition. Pryor refused interviews, turned down book deals, and asked that his name be kept out of historical accounts. "The men who died on those beaches were the heroes," he said in 1982. "I just sat in a camp and wrote letters. That's not heroism." Modern legacy, the blueprint for asymmetric intelligence. Today, MI9's prisoner intelligence network is studied at intelligence training schools worldwide. The operation proved that amateur sources can provide critical intelligence when properly trained. Simple codes hidden in plain sight can defeat sophisticated counterintelligence. Confirmation intelligence is as valuable as deceptive intelligence. The most effective spies are those the enemy never suspects. During the Cold War, Western intelligence services used similar techniques to communicate with dissidents behind the Iron Curtain. During the Gulf Wars, coded messages were used to contact prisoners in Iraqi camps. The fundamental principle, hiding intelligence in innocent communication, remains relevant in the digital age. The man who saved D-Day. Sub-Lieutenant John Pryor died in 1994 at age 77. His obituary in the Plymouth Herald mentioned his naval service and his time as a prisoner of war. It made no mention of his intelligence work. At his funeral, only 3 people knew the full story: his son Stephen, Barbara Bond, the MI9 codebreaker, and a retired American colonel who'd landed on Omaha Beach on June 6, 1944. The colonel approached Stephen after the service. "Your father's letters helped save my life. I was at Omaha Beach. If the 15th Army had been there..." He couldn't finish. "Did you ever thank him?" Stephen asked. "I never got the chance. I only learned about MI9 10 years ago. I've been trying to find him ever since." He would have said he was just doing his job. The colonel nodded. "The best of them always do." The moral lesson. John Pryor's story teaches us that heroism isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's a submariner writing letters home from a prisoner camp, including small details about gardens and weather, never knowing if anyone is listening, never seeking recognition. Sometimes it's doing your duty when no one's watching. Sometimes it's the difference between 10,000 casualties and 45,000. Sometimes one man, with a 9-minute briefing and the courage to act, can change the course of history. And sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones who never wanted to be called heroes at all. Final statistics. MI9 Prisoner Intelligence Network. 12,000 coded letters decoded, 1940-1945. Sub-Lieutenant John Pryor. 47 intelligence reports over 4 years Allied casualties prevented by Operation Fortitude's confirmation. Estimated 35,000 German 15th Army held at Pas de Calais, 49 days after D-Day. Number of times Pryor was publicly recognized during his lifetime. 0 number of lives saved. Impossible to calculate. The greatest intelligence operation of World War II wasn't run by master spies or code-breaking geniuses. It was run by ordinary men who did extraordinary things because someone gave them a chance, and because they had the courage to write letters home.